We're here in my kitchen at the shop. We're talking with Barry Bronson from Valvoline. Talking about oil, there are probably more misconceptions about oil, and even different experts give you completely different answers. A question, I think that the first question I have, explain what you pick up an oil. Okay, this is SM/SLGF. I mean, W means winter, correct?
Winter.
Any
correct.
oil you see the 50, you know, 2050W, that means it's a winter oil.
Correct.
Okay, all right. So we don't see that here as much in California. Explain some of the other markings on the cans for people who don't know.
API licensed the donut where they classify oils, and they go on an alphabetical system.
Mm-hmm.
And for passenger cars, light trucks, the current is SJSM. The C is a diesel specification.
Mm-hmm.
So all those letters tell you what the spec is, if it's current, and remember they're always backwards compatible.
Okay. Now, does Valvoline make any oils for older cars?
Valvoline makes an oil for a higher mileage car.
Okay.
Because 2/3 of the cars on the road today have more than 75,000 miles. People are keeping their cars longer.
Right.
Average age of a car is now pushing 10 years.
Right.
Cars go through a midlife crisis, and it's, I think, too many people nowadays think that a car is done at 100,000 miles. Not so. If you're taking care of that car
Right.
religiously, it's going to run 200, 300,000 miles. We get anecdotal evidence all the time at Valvoline.
When you're using a heavier oil like we do in some of the old cars, like a 50-weight oil, the lubrication you get when you first initially start the engine, you want to warm that up a little bit before you start pushing it, because the heavier oil, it's going to take a little bit more time to get to the bearings and get everything lubricated properly, whereas I think with a thinner oil, it'll get lubed quicker. The oil will circulate quicker.
Exactly.
Is that right?
In Jay's collection, this is not going to work for a lot of these older cars, and you're going to want to have them warm up. Today's cars, modern cars, you don't need to warm them up long at all.
But like the old cars, like the Duesenbergs, I run a straight 50.
Yes.
In fact, I run your straight 50. Works fine. I know other guys have run multi-grades in them, and you hear tick, tick, you hear the tappets clicking and clacking, tick, 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 because it's where the oil is too thin.
Right.
Okay, and that's one application you want to go with.
Absolutely.
So even if you've got a car from the 40s or the 50s or the 60s, you want to go with what the manufacturer recommends viscosity-wise. You don't want to automatically assume, oh, well, I'm going to put this modern, you know, 0W40, 5W40 in my 67 GTO because it's modern, so it's so much better than what they had back then. That's not necessarily true, correct?
That's correct, not true.
Okay. Okay.
How about the difference between, let's say, a synthetic and a standard oil? Is a synthetic always better than a standard oil?
Not always. It depends on the additive package. A conventional oil with a very high-tech additive package can be superior to a synthetic oil with, let's say, a dumbed-down additive package. Additives are the chemicals that do all the work.
Right.
So not necessarily true that the best conventional is not as good as a synthetic oil.
Is there such a thing as a straight weight synthetic? Anybody make that?
I don't think anybody makes a straight weight
Okay.
synthetic.
Okay. Because sometimes I would think with an older car you wouldn't need a synthetic because the babbitt and the bearings. Let's say let's say this synthetic is good to 350 degrees. Well, your babbitt's going to start burning out at 250, so your oil is lasting longer than your engine, essentially, isn't it? So there's no sense to put an expensive synthetic oil in an older car if it's not required.
Well, exactly true, because some of the chemical packages, the additive packages in here are very aggressive on seals and older materials, and you're cruising for trouble by putting a modern synthetic in one of those engines.
The other thing a question I had is, you always hear these ads for these lube companies, and the woman's driving a car, and just as the odometer hits 3,000 miles, the camshaft breaks and the tappets start going because she didn't change the oil. There's no reason to change oil at 3,000 miles in modern cars, is there? Every 3,000 miles?
Well,
I know you're in that business. This is a tough question.
always follow your owner's manual.
Yeah.
And remember that an owner's manual specifies severe and normal service.
Right.
An important point. And many drivers think that they're a normal driver when actually they drive under severe conditions. Stop and go, frequent trips, short trips, extreme temperatures, hot or cold. That's considered severe service, and so you take the oil interval that is sooner. It could be 3,000, it could be 4,500, could be 7,500.
Let me ask you about some myths, true or false. The color of the oil on your dipstick, you put it in, it's this nice clear color. You check it after 1,000 miles, it's dark. Is your oil, is that a bad sign if your oil is necessarily dark on your dipstick? Is that a sign that your oil is extremely dirty or wearing out or anything of that nature?
No.
No.
It can be a sign that the oil is simply doing its job.
Okay.
And oil will change color very soon in the cycle.
Okay.
Now, if you feel it and it's gritty, it's time to change, or as Bernard said, it might be too late.
Yeah.
Now, does a synthetic oil last longer? Can you extend your oil change intervals running a synthetic compared to conventional oil?
At Valvoline, we do not recommend extending the drain with synthetic because it's the additives that wear out.
The base oil is still good, but the additive package has been consumed.
Correct.
The other question is,
Okay.
if I've got my car, I've got 4 quarts of regular oil, can I add synthetic? Do most synthetics blend now with conventional or no?
Usually no problem there.
No problem?
No
Okay.
problem.
Okay, don't separate.
Or vice versa, if you have synthetic in your crankcase and you can't get any more, you just get some, whatever the gas station carries that day, pour it in. I mean, it's better than nothing, but it's not ideal.
It's no problem, but what some people do, and you might have heard of this, you know, that they'll put 4 quarts of conventional oil and then they'll throw a quart of synthetic in there and say, oh, I just fixed this up really good. No, you didn't, because these are balanced with additives, and you don't want to start mixing yourself. Smarter people than you have figured out what oil ought to be in the car.
All right. Barry, thank you very much. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
See
you.
later.
Thank you.